The cans on Juniper Court started getting heavier after the kids stopped playing outside. That's not the kind of thing you put in a report. It isn't even the kind of thing you say out loud, not if you want to keep working. I drive Route 6B for the city. Trash collector. Been doing it long enough that my body wakes up before the alarm, 3:42 a.m., like it's proud of itself. My wife says I still make that backing up beep noise in my sleep like a nervous tick. I laugh when she says it, but I don't correct her. The truth is I don't sleep well. The truth is I can't afford to. Our truck is old, manual lift, no arm. The kind where you grab the bar, heave the can up, tip it into the hopper, and hope you don't feel it in your spine until you're home already. The city keeps talking about upgrades, but talking is free. So is promising. I got this job on my third try. Background check the first time, flagged my record. Nothing violent, nothing like that. Just stupid things from when I was younger and meaner, broke in a way that makes you do short-sighted math. The second time, I didn't even get a call back. The third time, my supervisor, Carl, looked at me for a long minute and said, "You got kids?" I told him I did, too. A boy who thinks I'm a superhero because I can make a whole couch disappear, and a girl who wants to be an astronaut until she sees a spider and remembers that she's alive. Carl nodded like he understood something important, then said, "Don't make me regret it." So I don't. That's the deal. I show up early. I don't get cute with overtime. I don't complain. I do the job the way the job wants to be done. Fast, quiet, and not too curious. Juniper Court used to be my favorite. Little cul-de-sac with those identical houses, built in the same decade, the same color palettes, the same fake shutters. The kind of place where people put their cans out neatly, wheels facing the street, lids closed like they're doing you a favor by not making you look at their mess. The kind of place where the kids used to race their bikes behind the truck until their parents yelled from the porch. Then, sometime in late fall, the bikes started disappearing. The chalk drawings on the sidewalk faded and never came back. The little plastic basketball hoop fell over and stayed that way. And the cans got heavy. At first, it was just one house on the corner, pale gray siding, wreath still hung up on the front door long after January. Their can felt like it was filled with wet sand. I chalked it up to renovation debris. People throw out tile, plaster, busted drywall. It's bad manners, technically, but it happens. You don't ask questions. You lift, you dump, you move on. The next 2 weeks, it was 2 cans. The corner house and the one beside it. Both so heavy I had to brace my boot against the curb and rock them up, grunting into the cold. The lids were shut. The plastic sides didn't bulge. Nothing looked out of place. "Jesus," I muttered into my scarf, more annoyed than worried. My knuckles went white inside my gloves. My partner, Eddie, laughed from the cab. Eddie's younger than me. Different generation of tired. He leaned out the passenger side window and called, "What they throwing out today, bricks?" "Feels like it," I said. Eddie shrugged like it was a joke that didn't need a punchline. "Don't blow a gasket. We still got Maple Ridge." Maple Ridge is the hill. Lots of cans, lots of stairs, lots of people who think the curb is optional. So I lifted Juniper Court's heavy cans and didn't think much about it. There are a million ways people can make your day harder without doing anything technically wrong. But then it was 3 houses, 3 cans, same street, same day, same dense weight that didn't shift when you tilted it. Not sloshy like heavy food waste, not clinky like glass, not lumpy like yard clippings, just steady, packed, like whatever was inside had been pushed down by someone who cared about maximizing space. The first time a bag tore, it didn't tear all the way, just a split along the seam as the can hit the hopper's lid. I saw fabric, a flash of color, a sleeve. I could have pretended I didn't. Instead, I reached in because the job teaches you reflexes that happen before thought. I pinched the torn plastic, pulled it back together, and my eyes caught what was inside. Children's clothes, clean ones, folded. A small sweatshirt with a cartoon dinosaur, pajama pants with stars, socks balled neatly in pairs. Not stained, not ripped, the kind of laundry you do when you're still trying. I froze with my hand halfway in the bag, cold air rushing into my glove. Eddie hopped down and walked over, chewing on a toothpick like always. "You good?" he asked, his voice casual. "It ripped," I said. Eddie peered into the bag and made a face like the sight of kids' clothes in the trash was somehow more gross than usual. "People are weird," he said. "Maybe they had a yard sale that didn't sell." "Yeah," I said, and I tied the bag tighter because my hands needed something to do. We dumped it. We went on. That night, my daughter climbed into my lap with her hair damp from the bath and asked me to read the same book she always asked for. I felt something twist in my chest like a rope pulled too fast. I held her a little tighter than usual that night. My wife looked at me over the top of a basket of folded laundry and said, "You okay?" "I'm fine," I told her, because fine is another thing that's free. The following week, the bags on Juniper Court were double-lined. One black bag inside another, tied twice, sometimes duct taped around the knot. That's when my brain started doing what I tell it not to, making patterns. I would never say this at work, but you learn people by their trash. Not the dramatic stuff. Nobody's throwing out a body like on TV. It's smaller than that. It's how a man who lives alone eats microwave dinners and drinks the same brand of beer. It's how a family with toddlers has the diaper stink that hits you like a wall. It's how a house with a sick person has the medical smell, cleaning wipes, antiseptic, the sharp tang of something meant to kill germs. Juniper Court's heavy cans didn't smell like anything. They smelled like plastic, like laundry detergent, like cardboard, like someone went out of their way to make the smell neutral. A woman from the second house came out one morning while I was wrestling their can. She wore a robe over leggings and held her coffee mug like it was a prop. Her hair was pulled back. She looked rested in a way I resented without meaning to. "Morning," she said, and her smile arrived a beat late. "Morning," I answered, not beating her eyes for long. I've learned to keep it short. People like feeling like they're polite without having to actually be involved. She nodded toward the can and said gently, almost like a joke, "Sorry about the wait. Big clean out." I let out a little laugh that didn't have anything behind it. "No worries," I said. She watched me strain and didn't move to help. She didn't have to. That's not the relationship. She lifted her mug, took a sip, and her eyes slid past me, toward the truck, toward Eddie, toward the street, like she was checking something. Then she went back inside. When I turned the can to line it up with the hopper, my gaze drifted up without me wanting to. At the house, second story, front window, the curtains were open just enough to see the slats of blinds. And a face was there. Not a full face, just the suggestion of someone pressed close, the pale curve of a cheek, the dark shape of an eye, the straight line of a nose in profile. Watching. The second my eyes found it, the blinds snapped shut. Not gently, not like someone casually adjusting them, like someone yanked them down in a hurry. The slats clattered together and went still. Eddie called, "Yo, you gonna marry that can or what? Let's go." "Shut up," I said. I dumped the can. I didn't look up again. I didn't look up the next week either, or the week after that. But I thought about that face more than I should have. The way you think about a car that almost hit you, your brain replaying the angle and speed, trying to prove to itself you survived on purpose. After a while, I told myself it could have been anyone, a kid, a neighbor, someone curious about the noise, someone making sure their can got collected because the city loves to miss pickups in expensive neighborhoods and pretend it's a mystery. That's what I told myself. Then the shoes happened. It was a Thursday, cold enough that the air burned your nostrils. My gloves were stiff. The road had a thin layer of salt dust that turns everything dull. The corner house's cans were heavier than they'd ever been. I gripped the handle and leaned back using my weight. My boots slid a little bit on the grit. Damn, I muttered. Eddie didn't joke this time. He watched me with that look coworkers give you when they can see you hurting, but don't know what to do with it. You want me to? I got it, I said, sharper than I meant to. Pride is stupid. Pride is also how you keep from feeling like you're falling apart. I rocked the can up, tipped it toward the hopper, and something inside shifted for the first time in weeks. Not a slosh, not a crumble, a soft thud, like a packed box hitting plastic. The bag at the top snagged on the rim. The duct tape held, but the plastic didn't. It split, and the contents spilled out in a quiet, ugly tumble. Children's shoes, dozens of them. Some with Velcro straps, some little sneakers, some tiny boots, different brands, different colors, different sizes, all clean, all paired, each pair tied together by the laces like someone had taken time, like someone had sat down and done it carefully. My breath stalled in my throat, my hands went numb, and I realized too late they were shaking. Eddie stepped closer, his toothpick gone still between his teeth. What the hell, he said softly. I stared at the shoes, and my mind did something cruel. I tried to match them to memory. There was a pair of red sneakers, scuffed at the toe in a very specific way. I'd seen those on a kid riding a bike. A boy with a yellow helmet. He used to wave at the truck like we were a parade. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him. That's the part that scared me most. Not the shoes, not the weight, the gap in my own timeline. How long has it been? I whispered, not meaning to. Eddie frowned. What? He asked. Nothing, I said quickly, because my voice had done something it wasn't allowed to do, make it real. I crouched, scooping the shoes back into the torn bag with hands that wanted to be clumsy. I worked fast, my eyes darting up and down the street like someone was going to come running out and catch me looking. Eddie swallowed. Should we call somebody? He asked, and he tried to make it sound like a joke, but it came out thin. Call who? The police? And say what? I found shoes in the trash. Lots of shoes. Dispatch, so they could tell Carl, and Carl could call and ask what I was doing, digging around instead of working. I could see the chain of it, paperwork, questions, the job I fought hard to get, turning into something I couldn't hold on to. I imagined my wife's face when I told her we were short on rent because I decided to be a hero based on a feeling and a pile of clean shoes. And then I imagined my daughter's shoes, small, pink, sitting in a bag somewhere. My stomach turned. I looked at Eddie and said, it's probably donation stuff, and I hated myself as the words left my mouth. Maybe a charity cleaned out a storage unit, foster closet, I don't know. Eddie's eyes flicked to my face. He didn't believe me. He didn't disbelieve me either. That's the worst kind of looking. The kind that says, I'll follow your lead because I don't want it to be my problem. I cinched the bag closed as tight as I could. I shoved it back into the can. Then without looking inside again, I tipped the entire thing into the hopper and hit the compactor button. The mechanism groaned, metal pressed down. The shoes disappeared into the dark like they were never there. Eddie flinched at the sound. Jesus, he breathed. Get in the truck, I said. My voice came out like a supervisor's. Eddie hesitated. Man, he started. Get in, I repeated. And he did. I drove the rest of the route like I was trying to outrun something. I didn't speak. Eddie didn't either. At the depot, Carl asked, everything good out there? Like he always does, clipboard in hand, eyes already moving to the next line item. Yep, I said. Carl stared at me for a long second. Truck's been making a noise, he said. Yeah, I said again, and my throat tightened around the word. He nodded and made a note like it was the only thing worth recording. That night, I watched my son eat cereal at the kitchen counter, his feet swinging because they don't touch the stools or rung just yet. He told me about a kid at school who got in trouble for taking someone's pencil and lying about it. He kept saying he didn't do it, my son said, but everyone knew. I stared at him and felt my skin go cold. My wife set a plate in front of me and said, "You're quiet." Her voice careful. "I'm tired," I said. She touched my shoulder. "You've been tired," she said. I wanted to tell her everything, to pour it out like water and let it run away from me. At the moment, I pictured saying it out loud: the shoes, the clothes, the weight, a face behind the blinds. It sounded like the kind of story that makes people tilt their heads and smile politely. The kind of story that gets you concern and maybe therapy and nobody doing anything except watching you to see if you're going to make it weird. So I swallowed it. Weeks passed. The cans stayed heavy. Then they got lighter. Not gradually, not like someone stopped doing renovations. One week I could lift them without bracing my foot. The next week there were no cans at all. 3 houses, no bins at the curb, no recycling either. Just empty driveways and lawns trimmed too short, like someone wanted the place to look cared for in absence. No moving truck, no for sale sign, no foreclosure notice, nothing. Eddie noticed. He leaned out the window and said, "They forget," like it was funny. I kept my eyes forward and said, "Maybe they're on vacation." Eddie snorted. "All 3 houses?" "Maybe they're friends," I said. My voice sounded wrong to me, too fast, too practiced. We drove on. The city rerouted a month later. New developments, construction, complaints. Juniper Court got folded into a different loop. I didn't fight it. I didn't ask why. On my last day running that street, I slowed without meaning to. There were bikes again, seemingly new families too, in all 3 of the houses. New kids. A man stood in the driveway loading groceries from an SUV. He waved like we were just there as another part of the neighborhood's rhythm. I lifted a can from the corner house out of habit. A different can now. Same spot, standard weight. The kind of trash that smells like leftovers in normal life. As I tipped it, I felt my shoulders loosen in relief before my brain could stop it. That's when I realized something I didn't want to know. My body had been holding onto that street like it was a secret. We finished the pickup. We drove away. I didn't look up at the windows. I kept telling myself the same things I told myself since the first heavy can. There were reasons. There were explanations. There was nothing I could prove. There was nothing I could do without burning my own life down. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. All I know is this. Now, when I drag a can to the hopper and it's heavier than it should be, my first thought isn't about my back. It's about the weight of what people can get rid of and how easy it is to help them do it.